Okay, I know. I also watch Nintendo Directs. I also follow many video game news outlets on Twitter. I know that there's a new Boku game with Shin-chan. I even know that it's in English now. You don't have to keep telling me at every turn, under every tweet, and every video. It's okay. I know. Especially when you losers, you cretins, you scoundrels, don't even know about Automaton alone. Yo, new 3DS game just dropped. Woo! A 3D platformer X-shooter by the legendary Luke Vincent. Came out about as unceremoniously as it starts, starting you off on an abstract title screen with a cool bandit gradient, which is a vibe that I will yoink for this video. And once play button a hit, your girl just sorta like spawns only kinda off screen when the level loads. Poofed into this world. No fanfare, no explanation, no tutorials, dialogue, or text, no nothing. This set things off on a visitory foot. For instance, plenty of very beta, very demo, one-man guy Unity type games start strikingly similar. Or one default Unity button short of that shit though yet. However, unlike any of those, this is not some teenager's first shitpost. It is a game with a intensely deliberate tone and atmosphere that, even through all of its abstractions and textual silence, totally comes across as if it's trying to tell the player something. Yeah, I know what's gonna happen here, but I'm not telling anyone. Okay, well, not quite like that, but somewhere in between the proggy, synthy, droney, sorta 80s, but not in a typical way OST, bearing more commonalities with 70s prog, just with 80s new wavy instrumentations, and its super cool use of leitmotifs in only the crucialist of areas, and the stark lack of sound effects, moon jumps, cloudy movements. Epic open areas, foggy render distance, and the ability to look through walls, all combining to defining a sensual sensation of merely phasing through this world rather than properly inhabiting it. I get the impression that there's some dense thematic density at play here. These large structures dotting breathtaking plains paint a world of endless abstract brutalism. Dry deserts, massive pyramids, ancient relics, and what seem like religious structures of ancient civilizations long past. Though nothing's in disrepair or destroyed, it's more so that whoever built all of this never got much going to begin with. An unfinished world with environments without use. Now, I'm not gonna muse about intent here or nothing, but to me, this seems more like something meta than anything giving up any lore or whatever. See, I don't think that this is so much an actual world left abandoned as it is explicitly a game world left abandoned. I mean, there's bare collectibles in these bitches, the geometry only kinda makes sense for you to be walking over and jumping across, and there's no signs of life outside of hostile, colorful shapes that either come in quantities too small, or perhaps a tad too many, and as far as I can tell, none of the levels have explicit endings. Interior zones loop back on each other back towards entrance, or exit back into where you were back at prior, and the maps, what they inhabit, have clear borders surrounding them. Thing is, too, is that this is essentially a collectathon. Find enough chips to open this fence, but there's no real level progression or even any chip counters in the UI, not to mention that this fence is something you simply stumble across too. There is a level select, which interface-wise is a little obscure at first, and also just like behind this random-ass door behind some breakable crates down one of the many hallways in the first level, and should you go down the opposite hallway, you'll end up in a cool little churchy place, which then exits into a city with even more doors, which then houses a little spaceship, which then lets you fly to other locations in a motherfucking world map, revealing that the level select was only an elevator for the one level in this tower. I don't think, outside of like Yume Nikki, I've ever seen a game quite so dreamlike and ethereal in its openness of exploration. Mazy, explorable levels that explain nothing about shit, no clearly marked objectives, camera cutaways, or mini-maps, just doors that lead into worlds that lead into buildings with more doors to more worlds. And somewhere in that you can figure out at some point that these chips you pick up don't only replenish health, but also need to be collected to go here, wherever here is going to be. shoot button, jump button, snap or lock camera, hovercraft button, dash button, and the eye on the touchscreen can do camera, but the little nub nipple analog can do so too, so all top it be. That's what you got to explore in any case, and goddammit, explore with it you shall. As things that would seem like background elements in most other games can and likely will be explorable. I thought that this was the end of the level, the wall too big to jump or boost over, but then I kept going and going. Up this thing, down this thing, over this thing. And then I learned that the hoverboard has enough momentum to bridge gaps despite not letting one jump with it, and so I was able to make it atop what I thought was a background building and found myself looking over a level seemingly infinite. Past the wall, past what would be shit you weren't meant to see, I found a door and a ramp into the skybox, eventually entering the big building I was gazing at earlier, working my way to its very tippy top. It's such a raw, visceral sense of exploration, untethered, unfeathered, and unfucketh to giveth about whether or noteth it seems like something a finished game would do. This be the type of title that deliberately phases you through the fucking ground, un-oobing all the oob. This be the type of game where you search through an entirely dark green void for minutes, happen upon a ramp that does not catch the lighting, therefore being wholly pitch black, to then find a question mark in a cage with some weirdo teleporter thingies that you follow around for a bit until entering the cage and thus acquiring question mark? Unsurprisingly, the question mark answers no questions, but I think that's okay, because at least it granted me new weapons. As obscure as things is, though, Lung still feels very well paced and designed. It invites exploration to such a degree that happening upon things needing happening upon simply happens upon you. I never felt lost or stuck. I got enough chippies to open the gate just through natural play, and I sure as shit didn't see or do everything. Plus, there's tons of savvy checkpoints too. Not to say that there isn't a bit of jank. The jump is kind of pathetic with no boost, and there's a lot of clipping through and against things, and the camera goes berserk when Z-targeting motherfuckers, especially in close corridors, but death bears little to no penalties, and if I wasn't enjoying a randomly way more difficult jumping puzzle, I could always move on to elsewhere too, due to how open the game is, so it works. And coming across upgrades without even knowing that they were upgrades is also fun in its own way. Like, randomly I noticed my health bar having gotten bigger, and I have no idea what exactly caused it, but hey, fuck it, I'll take it. Huh, I wonder what this is. No! All in all, from how it plays, sounds, and looks, I get the impression that it's a lot like what an N64 Metroid Prime could have been. Or rather, if Metroid Prime had a leaked N64 beta that was surprisingly finished from front to back, but requirements for unlocks weren't implemented yet, so you can just go wherever at any time, nor were the story sequences there, being that those were rendered and written elsewhere or some shit. That's the vibe. It's like a lost game, which is mighty fitting, given that the 3DS store seems to be very much on its last legs as well. Much as I wanted to buy Automaton Lung, I did have to pirate it, sadly. The EU store already gave up on allowing new submissions, and the 3DS is region locked, so even if I could find my way into an account or an American 3DS that also had a capture card mod, I'd still be fucked out of luck, because the ability to add funds just got booted while I'm writing this. Did buy the soundtrack though. Word on the street is that a PC port might be in the cards, so who knows. Either way, this game rules, and also, here's the intro. Well shit, howdy. Dang. Welcome to So I've Been Playing, the show where I talk about games and experiences I have experienced that I wasn't able to make fully fledged videos out of or repurpose otherwise. Cause lately, I've been playing Minecraft in a big ol' server with a ton of friends. Chicken House, Fuck Sign, Sonic Sign, Cope Sign, Kmart, all the legends. I played this game loads in 2011 and 12, and 13 still kinda, but sorta only tacitly kept up with it since, so holy shit, there's so much stuff now. I got into some goddamn advanced gardening, bro. Boats ain't no longer trash, so many new biomes too, and critters and enemies. There's raids. I only have the pictures, but I fucking saved the whole ass village by essentially burning it to the ground. This game was already turned, but here's a bell. You can go on actual treasure hunts too, find fucking tombs, sunken ships, comfy little desert towns, and what have you. The game isn't any longer about simply stumbling upon some diamond and going, oops, guess I'm endgame now. It's pretty much a RPG, but a RPG based wholly around friends, your own creativity and expression, and finding the vibes along the way.
what a thrill.
The exploring just feels so much more realized now, I guess. Sail the seas, find an island, and a half-flooded abandoned town covered in spider webs. Even though this is randomly generated, it still felt like a story was told here. Like, what happened to this town? Did it succumb to a spider invasion? Is that a thing now? Targeted spider army attacks? Who knows? Just like a lung, it explained nothing, and so mystery develops very naturally. It could even be a little spooky at times. Or a little jank, like when you find a duplicate treasure map. But none of that detracts from the fact that it has excellently chill summer vibes. I summer chilled with it 10 years ago, and I'm summer chilling with it something fierce today. Quite the sequential coincidence then that there just so happens to be a whole entire series about just that. That just got a new installment following its final outing also on 3DS from 2013. Talking about that Shin-chan. Talking about that Attack of the Friday Monsters, but actually talking about them there Boku no Natsuyasumi. If you're unfamiliar, it's a series I've covered hellally pastly in these respective videos, but in short, it's basically about spending the weeks of your summer vacay away, abroad, and out of town, getting down, doing bug catching, swimming, bike riding, swing setting, friend making, and overall casually indulging in the childlike curiosities of exploring a brand new place. There's not really any true objectives or hardline stakes per se, but there are days, and these days will have events, mandatory or otherwise, story-wise, triggerable when at the right place at the right time. Sadly, all of these stayed in Japanese with only Attack of the Friday Monsters making it out, but that was more of a spin-off with a short, rigid story structure, so it's nice to see one more proper finally brought upon seas. Even though the Boku no, as instead we have Shin-chan, me and the professor on summer vacation, the endless 7-day journey. Shout out to the localization team for keeping the title JP this way. Bless.
体の長さが人の10倍以上もあるとても大きな生き物です。若い女性
Yeah. A real face down, ass up type of game this is. Not sure if Shin-chan as a manga or show really needs introductions, but it's basically about this cocky, stupid, kind of horny, ignorant little kid getting into trouble often way over his head, and perspectives viewed more so from the adults around him trying to deal rather than from him as a kid for kids himself. Which I think that's a great fit for this series, as that last part was also what Boku was too. Games set in the 80s, based very closely on memories and feelings and nostalgic ramblings of those who were making it. Just now infused with anime wackiness. Striking a Boku-leaning middle ground between what Monsters was and regular is, having a heavier plot focus and events that aren't nowhere near as mundane, but still carrying that classic day-to-day structure and not only being 2 hours long. Just right away, too, the gang gets off the train and I'm hit with the exact same summer cicada sound effects that they've been using since the very first outing on PS1. Shit, it's a little special for me, not gonna lie. However, instead of your Uncle Dat then being all like, "Be home before dinner, Boku, go have a look around," we get musings of local dino findings that went preceded by this evil plotting professor man giving the Shin-chan a camera with potentially magic properties. Which is about all I'll say about the plot goings on, as this game is much more fun when you have no idea what to expect from the story, though let's just say that there's a good reason why the bug fighting of old has been replaced by a dinosaur turn-based battle system. Either way, it's not until after this bit of preamble that you do get your titular first day of evening exploring, but see what I mean though? This is a bit more meaty on the mystery and story aspects, while still having plenty of room for aspects. I mean, it's a traditional Boku to the point that it still has the fucking PS1 era tank controls mapped to the D-pad, nor is the dedicated bugnet button going anywhere anytime soon. Menu is still the same too, though in the elder days you'd end the day by day by drawing up the day by way of diary entry of whatever major event the boy done along with a chance to save. And here is where this game goes to show its changes and modernizations, however slight, to the Natsu-Yasumi formula. As, despite autosaves, they kept it in but turned it into what is essentially a results screen, showing what bugs or fish got and letting the player choose how spicy they want the commentary to be, and giving more formal acknowledgements of the many character-driven plot threads as quests, essentially, and doing it all through the camera rather than drawing, which works, given that I don't cheat Shin-chan as the quiet drawing type despite the crayon namesake. Basically, and I mean this positively, it gamifies these elements prior only there for fun and ties them all together more. For instance, shit takes place in a small restaurant house in a small mountainside town with trains, a cable car, a disco bar with turntables that you of course get to use, a konbini, a curry shop, and what have you. All in all, it's a fair bit more urban than what you typically get from these titles, and also, the fish that you catch and the plants that you find can be brought to the kitchen and the various stores across town, netting the Chan a wee bit of pocket change. You'll need this as to replenish the newly added Stanima bar with food. Should it run out, Shin'll get knocked back home, which ain't the worst penalty, like it's not like it ends your day or anything, but A, the bar fucking kinda gets way up in your grill a little bit, obscuring shit I'd prefer to have seen right away even if it fades away, and B, it's not the system I'd have implemented. We're already on the clock, and I do feel like there's more interesting ways to give purpose to the earnable money, as this feels a little too easy. But, on the upside, there's also a tiny farm to run. Past games had plants to water, but that was usually just an aesthetical cute thing or something that might have paid off plot-wise way later into the game more often than not, so giving it a purpose was cool and also showers you in money, essentially rendering the stamina bar moot anyway. Again though, it all just serves to serve more purpose, eventually accumulating into the local newspaper where Shin-chan can monetize his picture diary into news articles, all so that the small-time paper may become the big time, and that he may impress the woman. It has to be said, this game has Lil Sman's energy for days. This image of Kid Goku, Tamagotchi Sonic, Digimon World protagonist, Tomba, Lil Sman's energy. Not a Shin-chan cast, of course, impacts hella. Boku himself is a good boy, nice boy, helpful boy, and Shin-chan is his fucking monkey-looking dumbass. Cocky, curious, stupid. It's defo a different filter to see the world through. I mean, this motherfucker's such a little gremlin that he can't even reach doorknobs. But also, this game is stacked with characters for him to interact with. The prior mentioned Konbini and Disco, for example, have their owners who have their own whole little personalities and backstories, and there's romances developing all over the fucking place. And the curry shop is run by a dog-damn undercover ninja, which is quite the contrast to the Elden games where you mostly spend time hanging around other local children and going to folks usually only at one and the same place. Motherfuckers move around a lot now. The shop girl is at the bar at night. The train guy lives next door. There's a lot more human-ass life here and more personality-driven exploring as a result. Less so childlike wonder at exploring a forest or whatever, and more cheeky kid-bolt rudeness of curiously prying into other people's business as 5-year-olds are often off to do. Especially Shin-chan with his rumor-milling newspaper job. It's a really fun twist, which again puts it in a middle ground between what Attack of the Friday Monsters did with imagination and what this series plays like normally. This little dude will still wonder about what's up these stairs, as the obviously not part of the background blockade may give way at a later date. Same way the roads is cut off by construction that will one day be finished, either through your own meddling or simply through the passage of time. All the while, you're also knee-deep in uncovering this town's deeply rooted lore and all the quirky mysteries that it might hold. In either case, it's really nice to just be here. Hear the sounds, see the sights, make the friends, and chill the chills. If I'd have one gripe outside a hunger bar, I'd say that its translation can very sometimes feel a little super obviously translatey. Largely due to the nature of Shin-chan's humor being mostly puns and punny misunderstandings, granted, as it's hard to find equivalents, especially when they often concern things that can't be retooled outright due to plot-relevant convos. But a random city in Louisiana, I could feel the Google what rhymes with Caltrop in that one. Not that that's at all anyone's fault or anything. Probably couldn't be helped, but that's really the only thing that took me out of it a little. Also, I noticed how the backgrounds were very watercolory. Not quite like the crisp and detailed PS3 3 backgrounds, i.e. the last console Boku, but I imagine that might not be too time and budget friendly. I don't think it's any surprise that this series went to handhelds and then dormancy come HD era. That point in time wasn't too friendly to AA studios, and even with this series having had Sony backing for a long time, it was often closer to even indie. Pretty sure having had a dev team of under 10 folks at certain points and also running a restaurant on the side, the titular kitchen, which also makes the restaurant in-game a cute personable touch that I like. Either way, it just goes to show that maybe cutting it down skill-wise a little bit wasn't too bad of an idea. Just as how the interiors are often distant rather than full-scale backgrounds of their own, I think that's fine. It conveys the same ideas and keeps the tones alive, but it makes it far less difficult to do for a tiny studio, and they do seem more animated. More gusts of wind, cable cars, moving skyboxes with parallaxing, and tons of fun-filled character to be found in the town of Asso. Yeah, they call it Asso.